3 days before Christmas, my husband told me we couldn't afford gifts for my family. The same night, I found a receipt in his jacket, a $1,000 necklace, a luxury watch, both for a woman who wasn't me. That was the moment I stopped pretending we had a normal marriage. I met Jake 6 years ago at a coffee shop. He was charming, funny, and he made me feel safe. Our first Christmas together was perfect. He surprised me with a weekend trip to the mountains. We stayed in this tiny cabin, drank hot chocolate, and watched the snow fall. He even wrapped a bracelet for me and hid it in my coat pocket so I'd find it later. I thought I'd found someone who understood how much holidays meant to me. My family always went all out for Christmas. My mom would bake cookies for weeks. My dad would put up lights that could be seen from space. My little brother would make handmade cards for everyone. It was our thing. And when Jake joined us that first year, he fit right in. He laughed at my dad's jokes. He helped my mom in the kitchen. He even played video games with my brother until 3 in the morning. I thought he loved my family as much as I did. But things started changing around our third Christmas together. He started complaining about money. He'd say things like, "Do we really need to buy your brother a gift? He's an adult." Or, "Your parents don't expect anything expensive, right?" At first, I brushed it off. I thought maybe he was stressed about work, but it kept happening. Every time I mentioned buying gifts for my family, he'd get this annoyed look on his face, like I was asking him to do something ridiculous. Then he started controlling our finances. He insisted we combine our bank accounts. He said it would make things easier. I trusted him, so I agreed. But after that, he started questioning every purchase I made. If I bought groceries, he'd ask why I spent so much. If I got a coffee with a friend, he'd make a comment about wasting money. Meanwhile, he never explained where his money went. I just had to trust him. This year, when I brought up Christmas shopping in early December, he shut me down immediately. He said, "We can't afford gifts this year. Money is tight." I was confused because we both had jobs. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. I asked him what was going on, and he got defensive. He told me to stop questioning him and to be grateful for what we had. So I dropped it. I didn't want to fight during the holidays. But something felt off. Jake started acting different. He was on his phone all the time. He'd tilt the screen away from me when I walked by. He started coming home late from work, saying he had extra projects. When I asked about it, he'd snap at me or change the subject. I tried to ignore it, but my gut told me something was wrong. One night, about a week before Christmas, I was doing laundry. I grabbed his jacket to check the pockets before throwing it in the wash. That's when I felt it, a folded piece of paper. I pulled it out, thinking it was just a receipt for gas or lunch. But when I unfolded it, my hands started shaking. It was from a jewelry store, a high-end one downtown, the kind of place we'd never shopped at together. The receipt showed 2 items, a white gold necklace with diamonds, $1,200, and a men's luxury watch, $850, both purchased 3 days ago, both gift wrapped. I stood there in our laundry room, staring at this piece of paper, trying to make sense of it. My husband told me we couldn't afford to buy my mom a $50 candle set, but he just spent over $2,000 on jewelry, and none of it was for me. My mind was racing. Who were these gifts for? Why was he lying? Was he seeing someone else? I felt sick. I took a picture of the receipt with my phone and put it back in his pocket, exactly where I found it. I didn't want him to know I'd seen it yet. I needed to figure out what was going on first. Over the next few days, I watched him closely. He was still acting secretive. He'd leave the room to take phone calls. He'd delete his text messages. He even changed his phone password, which he'd never done before. I started checking our bank statements online. That's when I found more purchases. Expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together. Charges from hotels, a florist, all of it hidden from me. He told me we were broke. The receipts told me he was lying. I didn't confront him right away. I needed a plan. I wasn't going to let him ruin Christmas for my family, and I wasn't going to let him make me look like a fool. So I decided he wasn't going to ruin my Christmas, not this time. First, I started gathering proof. I took photos of every receipt I could find. I screenshotted the bank transactions. I made copies of everything and saved them in a folder on my laptop. I even started a separate email account just to send myself evidence. I wanted to make sure I had everything documented. Then I called my sister. I told her what I found. She was furious. She wanted me to confront him immediately, but I told her I had a better idea. I wanted to expose him in a way he'd never forget. She agreed to help me. She said whatever I needed, she'd be there. I kept digging through our finances. That's when I found something that made my blood boil. A reservation. Christmas Eve dinner. 7 o'clock. A fancy restaurant downtown. A table for two. My name wasn't on it. He was planning to spend Christmas Eve with someone else while I sat at home alone, believing we were too broke to celebrate. That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I was going to give him the Christmas surprise of his life. I started planning quietly. I went through my own savings account, the one I'd kept separate before we got married. I still had a few $1,000s in there. I used that money to buy gifts for my entire family. I got my mom the candle set she wanted. I got my dad a new toolkit. I got my brother the gaming headset he'd been talking about. I wrapped everything beautifully and signed the cards, Love, Jake and me. Then I called my mom. I told her I wanted to host Christmas Eve dinner at their house this year. She was thrilled. She asked if Jake was okay with it, and I said he was excited. That was a lie, but he'd find out soon enough. I sent out invitations to my whole family. My parents, my brother, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, everyone. I told them we were doing a big family dinner on Christmas Eve, and that Jake and I would be bringing gifts. My mom was so happy. She started planning the menu immediately. Jake had no idea any of this was happening. He thought I'd accepted his excuse about money. He thought I was just going to let Christmas pass by quietly. He got comfortable. He stopped being as secretive. He probably thought he'd gotten away with it. But I was 3 steps ahead. I also did something else. I printed out every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of evidence I had. I put them all in a red folder. I wrapped the folder like a Christmas present. I even put a bow on it. I was going to give him a gift he'd never forget. Christmas Eve came. I got dressed up. I did my hair and makeup. I acted completely normal. Jake asked me what I was doing, and I told him we were going to my parents' house for dinner. He looked confused. He said he didn't know about that. I smiled and said I must have forgotten to mention it. He wasn't happy, but he couldn't say no without looking like a jerk. So he changed his clothes and got in the car. When we arrived, my entire family was there. The house smelled like ham and cookies. Christmas music was playing. Everyone was laughing and hugging. My mom came up to us and thanked Jake for being so generous this year. He looked at me, confused. I just smiled. We sat down for dinner. Everything was perfect. My dad said grace. We ate and talked and joked like we always did. Jake kept looking at me like he was trying to figure out what was happening. I ignored him. After dinner, it was time to open gifts. My mom brought out the presents from under the tree. She started handing them out. My brother opened his gaming headset and freaked out. He ran over to Jake and thanked him. Jake just nodded, still confused. My mom opened her candle set and teared up. She hugged Jake and said he was so thoughtful. My dad opened his toolkit and shook Jake's hand. Jake leaned over to me and whispered, "What is going on? Where did these come from?" I whispered back, "I bought them with my own money, and I told everyone they were from both of us." His face went pale. He started to say something, but I stood up. I walked over to the tree and pulled out the red-wrapped folder. I handed it to him in front of everyone. I said, "This one's for you." Everyone got quiet. All eyes were on Jake. He looked at the box, then at me. He slowly unwrapped it. When he opened the folder and saw the receipts, his face went from pale to red. He started flipping through them. The jewelry store receipt, the restaurant charges, the hotel bills, the dinner reservation for Christmas Eve. I didn't say anything at first. I just let him sit there, holding the evidence of his lies. Then I spoke. My voice was calm. I said, "You told me we couldn't afford to buy gifts for my family. You told me money was tight. But you had enough money to buy a $1,000 necklace, a luxury watch, expensive dinners, a hotel room, and a reservation for tonight, Christmas Eve, for 2 people, and I wasn't invited." The room was silent. My mom's hand was over her mouth. My dad looked like he was about to explode. My brother just stared. My aunts and uncles were frozen. Jake tried to speak. He said, "It's not what it looks like." I cut him off. I said, "Then what is it? Because it looks like you've been lying to me for months. It looks like you've been spending our money on another woman while telling me we're broke." He stood up. He was angry now. He said I was embarrassing him. He said I had no right to go through his things. He said I was making a scene. I stayed calm. I said, "You embarrassed yourself. I just showed everyone who you really are." Then I pulled out an envelope from my purse. I placed it on the table in front of him. I said, "I'm spending Christmas with people who actually care about me. You can spend it however you want. Alone. With her, I don't care anymore." He grabbed my arm. He tried to stop me from leaving. My dad stood up and told him to let me go. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him with disgust. He let go of my arm. I walked out the door. I didn't look back. I stayed with my parents for the rest of the holidays. I slept in my old bedroom. I helped my mom bake cookies. I watched movies with my brother. I felt lighter than I had in years. Jake called and texted nonstop for days. He apologized. He begged. He said it was a mistake. He said he'd explain everything. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. I started seeing a therapist in January. I opened my own bank account again. I moved my money out of our joint account. I started looking for my own apartment. I focused on rebuilding my life. On my terms. Christmas didn't break me. It freed me. Should I have confronted him privately, or was revealing the truth in front of my family the right choice?